The air that night in Jacksonville carried the sticky warmth of a Florida November, the kind that clings to your skin and makes every sound seem amplified. Jordan Davis, 17, navigated the streets with a lighthearted confidence that only youth can carry. He was surrounded by friends, laughter spilling into the SUV as the bass from their music reverberated to the car and out into the quiet night. The world felt wide open, endless, and safe. Inside the car, Jordan's mind drifted to ordinary things: basketball games, school assignments, and dreams of college. For a brief moment, nothing existed outside the circle of his friends, the music, and the hum of the car's engine. But danger often hides in the corners of ordinary nights. Across the lot, Michael Dunn sat in his SUV, fingers drumming the steering wheel, jaw tight. The booming bass from Jordan's car penetrated his patience, or perhaps it stirred something deeper, an impatience, a sense of entitlement, a simmering anger waiting for release. He muttered under his breath, tension creeping into every muscle. When Dunn finally approached, his stride was deliberate, sharp, and unyielding. The air shifted in an instant. The laughter inside Jordan's car faltered. "Turn that music down," Dunn shouted, the words sharp, charged with aggression. Jordan, ever the peacemaker, raised his hand slightly and replied in a calm voice, "Sure, man, we'll turn it down." There was no threat, no arrogance, only an attempt to diffuse a tense situation. But Dunn's anger was untethered, spiraling beyond control. The first step toward violence was small, a hand in a pocket, a shift in posture, but it escalated rapidly. Within seconds, Dunn drew a gun, its metallic sheen glinting in the neon light. Fear struck Jordan's friends instantly. Their hearts pounded as they ducked, their voices caught in their throats. Bullets shattered the night. The music that had been their joy became drowned out by screams and gunfire. Jordan was hit multiple times. Time fractured, seconds stretching into eternity. His friends scrambled for cover, shaking with shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend the sudden, lethal transformation of a night that had begun with laughter. When the police arrived, the lot was chaos. Dunn had fled back to his SUV, attempting to construct a narrative of self-defense. Witnesses trembled as they recounted the shooting, piecing together fragmented memories. The music, the confrontation, the sudden eruption of violence. The air was heavy with grief, disbelief, and tension. Jordan's body was taken away, leaving an empty SUV as a silent witness to the horror. His friends remained on the curb, shaking, silent except for occasional sobs, unable to process the magnitude of the event. As investigators examined the scene, the story began to unfold. Ballistic reports confirmed multiple shots fired. Witness statements painted a chilling portrait of Dunn's aggression, contradicting his self-defense claims. The evidence was clear. A young life had been extinguished in an act of avoidable violence. Media outlets descended upon Jacksonville, turning a local tragedy into a national conversation. Headlines read, "Teen killed over music. Florida shooting sparks debate. Justice for Jordan Davis?" Social media amplified grief and outrage, turning Jordan Davis into a symbol of the fragility of young black life in America. Jordan's parents were devastated. His mother, eyes red and voice shaking, described her son as full of life and dreams, a young man who deserved more than the fate dealt to him that night. His father spoke of the injustice, the anger, and the lingering questions that could never be fully answered. The community responded with vigils and rallies. Friends and neighbors gathered, lighting candles, sharing memories, and demanding accountability. The tragedy became not only a personal loss, but a reflection of larger societal issues: racial bias, systemic injustice, and perception of black youth as threats in everyday spaces. In 2014, Michael Dunn's trial began. The courtroom was tense, packed with spectators, journalists, and family members. Prosecutors laid out a detailed timeline. Dunn's approach to confrontation, the repeated shots fired into an unarmed vehicle. Witnesses described the terror of the night, the chaos, and the instant when a normal evening turned into horror. Dunn's defense argued that he had acted in fear for his life, but evidence of his aggression, multiple rounds fired, and witness testimony contradicted this narrative. The trial became not just a legal battle but a moral one, forcing society to confront uncomfortable questions about race, perception, and entitlement. The verdict came. Dunn was convicted of second-degree murder and multiple counts of attempted murder. He received life without parole. Justice, legally, had been served, but grief and anger remained. Even years later, lingering questions haunt those who follow the story. Was it truly about music or something far deeper? How can society prevent such sudden, tragic escalations? What biases allow fear and prejudice to manifest into lethal violence? Jordan Davis's story does not end with the verdict. His life, his death, and the questions raised by both continue to resonate. Friends, family, and community members honor his memory, while society wrestles with the reality of how young black men are perceived, treated, and sometimes tragically lost. The sound of gunfire lingered in the air long after the last bullet had been fired. Jordan's friends were crouched in the SUV, hearts hammering, minds racing. One of them, trembling, whispered Jordan's name, hoping for a response he knew would never come. The world around him felt surreal, as if time had fractured and left only terror in his wake. Outside, Michael Dunn's hand shook slightly as he retreated to his SUV. His chest heaved, a mix of adrenaline and fear. In that moment, he believed he had acted in self-defense. But deep down, an uncomfortable reality began to creep in, a creeping doubt that would haunt him to the coming investigation, trial, and the relentless gaze of a nation. Paramedics arrived moments later, the wail of sirens cutting through the night. But for Jordan Davis, it was already too late. The young life that moved through the world with such calm confidence, that filled classrooms, basketball courts, and family homes with laughter, was gone. Detectives cordoned off the gas station, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. They began the painstaking work of piecing together what happened, interviewing Jordan's friends, photographing the SUV, cataloging shell casings, and reconstructing every movement. The teen spoke haltingly, fear and grief interwoven into their testimonies. Every detail mattered. The angle at which Dunn approached, the words exchanged, the way the gun was brandished. Investigators noted the discrepancies between Dunn's claims and witness statements, the growing evidence that this was no simple case of self-defense. As news outlets descended, the story exploded across social media. Jordan's name became a symbol of injustice, a focal point for a nation grappling with race, privilege, and gun violence. Memes, news clips, and hashtags circulated, keeping the memory of that night alive and uncomfortably present. Jordan's parents were devastated. His mother's voice trembled as she described her son, speaking of his kindness, his dreams, his love for basketball, and the way he always made friends feel seen and heard. His father's hand shook as he recounted the moment he learned of the shooting, a reality too harsh to accept. Community members rallied, holding vigils and candlelight marches. Each gathering was charged with grief and anger, demanding accountability, and highlighting the broader societal problems that the case revealed. News anchors, reporters, and commentators debated the implications, questioning the justice system and the culture that allowed such violence to occur. By 2014, Michael Dunn's trial began. The courtroom was filled with spectators, reporters, and the families of both the victim and the accused. The air was tense, thick with anticipation. Every word, every gesture, every piece of evidence had weight far beyond courtroom walls. Prosecutors meticulously reconstructed the night. The confrontation, the escalation, the repeated gunshots. Witnesses described the fear, the chaos, the instant when laughter turned into tragedy. Each testimony was a reminder of the human cost of that night. The defense argued that Dunn acted in fear for his life, painting him as a man reacting to perceived danger. Yet the number of shots fired, the aggression displayed, and consistency of witness testimony created a compelling argument that this was not self-defense. It was violence born of anger and bias. Jordan's friends took the stand, their voices shaking as they described their final moments together. One friend recalled how Jordan had tried to de-escalate the situation, how he had remained calm even as Dunn's anger grew. Another described the sound of gunfire and the way time seemed to stretch infinitely in those seconds. Jordan's parents testified, their grief palpable. His mother's tears fell freely as she recounted Jordan's dreams, college plans, basketball ambitions, and the simple joys of family life. His father's voice, though steady, carried the weight of anger, injustice, and unanswerable questions. Every word, Every tear, every pause, made the courtroom feel less like a legal space and more like a stage for a story that demanded justice and reflection. After days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Michael Dunn was found guilty of second-degree murder and multiple counts of attempted murder. He received life in prison without parole. Justice legally had been served, but it did not bring back the life of Jordan Davis or erase the trauma experienced by his friends, family, and community. The case ignited national conversations about race, about guns, about fear, about entitlement. Was it really about loud music, or something deeper, rooted in bias in the way society perceives young black men?